Hello again. Welcome back into a fun, casual conversation at a fun, casual joint. We are at Roosters, back in the Horseshoe Lounge. That is Justin Zwick, Bobby Carpenter, Nicole Cox. I am Austin Ward. And it was a fantastic weekend. Whether you were in New Orleans or Columbus, Ohio, or I guess even in Detroit, Michigan for the NFL draft.
Ooh. One of the millions of people that were up
millions,
there.
There were a lot.
Millions.
Said 750,000.
Yeah. Just to celebrate only 4 Buckeyes getting drafted, Bob. A rare experience.
That was, most of the guys I thought went where we thought they would or a little higher. Obviously Marv, that people we thought top 5, first non-QB taken. Mike Hall goes in the second. Brown's first pick, you like that.
Mm-hmm.
Cade, you thought somewhere between 3 and 5, goes pretty early in 4 to Houston. Tommy, I thought somewhere, maybe 4 or 5. It was in the 5th. And I thought for sure, like some combination of Xavier, Josh Proctor, and Steele. I probably thought Steele would have probably the best chance of all those guys. But I thought maybe at least 1, if not 2 of those guys would get drafted. So a little surprising to not see any of them get drafted. Usually people love taking flyers on Ohio State guys at the end just because they know the culture.
After you've seen what's come out the last 10 years or whatever, you would think, we like those high character guys. They know how to,
absolutely.
How to get after it.
And it seemed like that would be the case. Unfortunately, it wasn't. So, I think that's probably like the low mark for probably the last
11 years.
11?
2013, The Buckeyes had 3 players selected in that draft class, so that was the previous low water mark.
This is Zach Boren year.
Yeah. And, and we love Zach, obviously, but that tells you that was what that draft class looked like, and it wasn't long for the league.
Yeah. And it was a young team. And this draft could have had probably another 4 or 5 guys in it should they chose to have come out.
Exactly.
Could have had more than 5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying if half of the guys that could have chose to come out, and all of them basically came back, so that leads to a light draft.
Next year is going to be a big
one. Exactly. We're going to take over the draft next year. That's the great news.
Bigly.
It'll be a takeover. And all the pro days and all the combine experience will be a lot more. I guess I'm going to have to work a lot more. That's way better. I've said it a lot.
More bios you have to write.
It's good for Ohio State that all these guys are coming back. And it was good for me for the last 2 months that I didn't have to worry about the draft. It's like, Marv's there. I did think maybe one other guy you could throw in there, Bob, with Matthew Jones. He's played a lot of football.
Played a lot of ball.
A guard, like you could keep him in. But, again, it's good for Ohio State that the rest of that draft class is coming back.
Where did Jones end up signing?
Miami, right? Yeah, Miami.
So and then Proctor was Jacksonville. Steele was Detroit, and
Buffalo for Xavier Jones.
I actually really liked Buffalo for Xavier, just given their wide receiver situation.
Yeah.
They drafted Keon Coleman, but outside of that, Gabe Davis is gone, Stephon Diggs is gone.
Diggs is out of there.
They're pretty young.
Good quarterback, good team, so you can just go out there and make
absolutely.
plays. Yeah, right?
And he's going to be a guy that will be active every week because he's going to be really good on teams.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if you're the 4th receiver as a rookie, there's going to be guys that get hurt. Things will happen, and if the quarterback ends up liking you, it'll be great. And I know that Nicole is over the moon with Cade going to
shut that text off on. It was awesome.
I mean, guys, with the Texans, they're just great.
I didn't have you pegged for just watching every pick in the draft all weekend, Nicole. I didn't know that you had taken
I wish I could say I did that. We had the cap.
She has notification on text.
I do, and on Ohio State. So that came through, and we had the Cap City Half Marathon. Roosters did on Saturday morning. So
what was your time?
I didn't run it.
Oh, okay.
I just had to speak. And
that's right. I saw a picture of you up on stage in front of all those people.
I got to do the horn. Set.
I've done that before. It's fun.
Yeah.
Did they bring chips out for everybody down there or what?
They did.
Oh,
they did.
What?
Yes, I know.
I was at an event Sunday. The Roosters truck was there.
Well, they gave all the chips away on Saturday.
When I walked up, and I didn't think it was there. I was like, "You guys don't have any chips on there, do you?" And he's like, "No."
They weren't part of it?
No, they weren't. Yeah, they just had the wings and fries and stuff like that. But it was Shane, right?
Joel.
Joel.
No.
I was thinking Shane for some reason. But Joel was there. He goes, "Yeah, Nicole." I said, I
she's
talk
like,
to
if
Nicole
you
about
see
these
this
all the
guy
time.
creeping around.
Yeah.
Don't tell him that you
I didn't know.
chips.
I didn't know he was in there. I was telling the other guys, like, I tell Nicole all the time we need to bring these chips back, and he's like, "Oh, she brought it up the other day." I was like, "Oh, hey, bud."
Yep, I did.
I said, "I stay on her." So,
but
they're my favorite.
Cade Stover is a Texan.
Yes,
he is.
Awesome.
I'm so excited. I just think it's exciting for him and CJ, and I just love how many Buckeyes are going to the Texans. Obviously, because it's our favorite team. But I don't know. I just think it's going to be a great year for them and a great experience for Cade, just because it's a great city, too, and it's a great program from what...
Well, they're winning.
They're winning.
That helps a lot.
Their facility is beautiful. I've been to it, and I I feel like they treat their players and their staff very well. I could just tell by the way they interacted with one another. So I hope that's the case for the players as well.
Have you found your fandom of the Texans enhanced in the last 2 years by the presence of those Buckeyes?
Absolutely. And also just being on this show. I mean, like my son and husband have always watched the Texans, and I'm kind of in the background just doing stuff because I can't relax. And so
you don't say.
I've never known that about you.
Yeah. I just always feel like I have to be doing something. So, but yeah. And, this show, just learning about CJ and then watching him go there. Yes, absolutely. It's just such a big love for that team.
CJ was he was everywhere. He was
everywhere. With that Micah.
Completion report.
Did you get
beating up on Micah Parsons?
Come on, bro. What are you talking about, bro?
You were the only person in America, in the world, that could think that the NFC East is stronger than the AFC North.
That's CJ's knowledge and appreciation and study of all football.
Yeah.
We knew that, but I don't think people recognize that about him. There was so much negativity towards him in the build to last year's draft.
SQ. That's
the guy.
Whatever that test that nobody takes anymore was.
Yeah. The guy's married to the game, and he was
married to the game,
and he's talking.
That's what you like.
Talking about that stuff with Micah Parsons, and it was like I think that gave people another level of appreciation for CJ heading into year 2.
Well, I think people viewed him as kind of a more quiet. Like they questioned his leadership here a little bit, just because he's not, this big personality, most vocal guy you're going to find, and so people confuse that with just kind of ambivalence around the situation.
Not you want running your team. It's like,
and then you watch him kind of clap back fast. And Mike was like, okay, I don't know if everybody else had seen that, and I was surprised that he.
You're going to see his personality a little bit.
Yes,
right?
It was
good. Year in the league. He's feeling a bit.
Oh yeah, his offensive rookie of the year,
himself a little
which
bit.
is great. Like all that's great for Cade because you have a guy who's comfortable with you, who is going to lobby for you out there.
Love their tight ends.
Absolutely, and that's he understands what he can do really well. They've got Dalton Schultz, but I'm sure he'll be lobbying to get Cade on the field as much as he can. He understands what he can do, better than the coaches they already have and the guys that evaluated him. So that'll be big, and it's just a comfort level that they'll push the ball to him whenever he probably can if he feels like there's an opportunity to do it.
I have a question. I'm sorry. I know I'm not supposed to give the questions, but I just have a question.
You can absolutely do that whenever you want.
But I was just thinking, do they, when they're before the draft, because my favorite movie is Draft Day. I didn't see this in the movie, so I'd like to know how it works on the back end. Do the players get any say into if they're looking at all the possibilities, the coaches are, do the players get any input at all on okay, well, we know this tight end's coming, and I went to school with him. I'd really like for him to be here. He would help.
I have some insight onto that process for the Texans specifically.
Okay.
Because CJ Stroud was at Pro Day, and he did an interview and hung out with Berm and I for a while. And we asked him what he was looking for, and he said, well, I've been looking at the film of all of the wide receivers and targets and giving feedback with their offensive coordinator and head coach about who he might like, what he sees on film, and he's not getting the green light to make the pick himself, but it would be, from my perspective, foolish for the Texans to not involve their quarterback in some of those evaluations with their wide receivers and tight ends. So I know that he was. What percentage does that influence the
front office?
Didn't
he kind of do that last year when he got drafted? Wasn't there a receiver that he kind of wanted?
He did, but he didn't have that say at that point.
Well, no, I know he didn't have the same say, but I mean, he was still thinking hey, I worked out with this guy. I know what he's able to do. I really like that. So, maybe that, and then coming into this year probably helped him out a little bit.
It especially when there are guys that you were former teammates of. I mean, you have an intricate working knowledge of it. If you're on the same side of the ball, I would think that they would have asked.
Oh gosh,
talk to him about it. Ask him about it. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to pick him. Hey, this is our order of tight ends. They probably wouldn't even reveal that to him. But hey, tell us about Cade? What is he here?
They're just going to ask about him.
Yeah,
if he gives any inside knowledge.
Tell us about him personality-wise. What does he do with his routes? Different things. What type of teammate is he? All those different things. They'll always do that if they have a direct working line.
I just saw it was with Vince Workman yesterday, who was in Green Bay for a while, and he was a scout there. But he's like, I wasn't even a scout anymore. I was just still around, and they were getting ready to draft AJ. And he's like, they came, hey, you're an Ohio State guy. You know some people. You probably know some people. What do you think? What have you heard? So it's just they look any route they can to try and just get as much information on these players as possible.
As they should too, because if you think about it, even in business, you you want to hire someone that you know is going to work well with the team
Oh,
you
yeah.
already have.
Does he fit in the locker room? Is what
Because
they'll ask.
that I feel like is maybe one of the most important parts of the process, because you could get a guy that's super talented, but if he can't work with everyone or maybe just your group, that's not going to work out very well.
Bob, what do you make of Cade's journey now that it's complete here through Ohio State? Showing up and playing linebacker, defensive end, wanting to go back in the Rose Bowl and play linebacker, and then being a drafted NFL tight end.
Pretty highly drafted NFL tight end. Mackey Award finalist. How many tight ends were taken before him? 3 or 4?
A handful. I don't have. I
I
can't
don't think.
remember.
Yeah, I was trying to look and count that up. I mean, obviously,
Iowa probably put one out.
I don't think they
No, they
did.
didn't have
They
one
all-
this year.
all theirs got
They're
hurt.
already
Yeah,
gone.
they all got hurt. Luke Lachey came back.
that's
Luke
true,
would have been
yeah.
drafted high. They had, what's his name from Georgia?
Rock
Rock
Bowers.
Ross Bowers.
Yep.
Sitting there. Michigan's guy went a couple picks ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was maybe 1 or 2 other guys in there. So your top 5 guy, top 6 guy drafted at your position. That's pretty darn impressive.
8th tight end.
Eighth. Wow, there's
Yeah,
that many
top
that
10.
went. So your top 10 of your position. It was a little bit like a series of books that they turned into movies, with the first one being called An Unexpected Journey in the Hobbits.
Okay.
And, he had a long journey to get that ring back to Mordor. A
Just
lot of
Couple
hurdles.
thousand pages.
Yeah. And that was kind of Cade's story. Long time here, 2-time captain, linebacker, D-end, linebacker, tight end, linebacker, tight end. I mean, just like snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap, like a dinner party, and it just took a while to finally get there. And then the last 2 years, you watched him settle in, and he went and ran a 4.65, looked good on pro day, and I think they're going to get a heck of a player. But it's one of the more unique stories, and I would say success stories about a guy changing positions, having success. And Steel Chambers is kind of the reverse of that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't drafted, but he had a very successful college career, and I think will have obviously much better chance of making the team as a linebacker than a running back.
Yeah. I asked Bill Landis this question on the podcast daily today. Now I'll put it to you guys. Will there be more Ohio State first-round draft picks in 2025 than there were total draft picks in 2024?
Ooh, 5.
Ooh.
That's
Golly, that's a lot of
What is
dudes.
That
first
is a
round
lot.
in the
32?
first
Yeah,
round.
there's 32 first-round
the
draft
most we've
picks.
ever had is 5.
So
I
we have
think
to get 6.
the record is 6.
And
Is
Ohio
the
State
record
had 4
6?
players drafted
Well, we'd have
this
to
year.
beat. Yeah, we have to
Bobby,
beat 4 with.
Let's make it the
this year.
standard. Why don't we just do that?
That was my class, so that is the standard. So thank
Okay.
you very
There you
much.
go.
Standard is standard.
Oh, I heard David Goggins. He had an awesome riff about the standard being the standard and
Oh.
not.
Ooh, I need
not
to hear
relate-
that.
Yeah,
Nicole
I'll
is
send it
trying
over
to
you.
schedule a standard is the standard show for this
We've got
summer.
We got a
So-
couple free episodes coming up here in the next few months.
That'll be good. Gosh, 5. It's so hard to say that. They also had 5 in 2015.
in the 15.
No, Michael Thomas should have been the 6 because they took 5 receivers ahead of him, which was ludicrous.
Didn't work out.
I don't know.
That's a lot.
I know. It's a great question.
It really
'Cause
is.
you have 2 D linemen, right?
I think you could have a couple D
you could have
linemen.
maybe 2 or 3, depending on.
Is Simmons? Is he a
He will be eligible to go to the draft.
curious because I think he has potential to be a first rounder.
The expectation
I
from
think-
Ohio State at this point is that he will be an NFL draft pick. At
I
this
think
time next
that's
year.
probably true. I think Denzel Burke. There's a good chance that he could, depending
Jack
on if.
Sawyer.
So that's what I say.
one of
D
these
line
running backs.
Yeah.
One of the 2.
running back. I mean, the highest running back was taken in the middle of the second round this year. That's
Yeah,
why.
this year, but
And
Zeke
they
But
could-
maybe
Good.
that means they'll need
round
more
4.
next year.
Gosh, I mean,
That's
I
what
would
kind of the.
if you put it at 4.5, I would take the under.
Mm.
If you put it at, I wouldn't bet it at 4 because I think 4 is probably
5's a
about the
lot
number.
I mean,
And that's
You're taking the push, huh? All right. Cop out.
it could be more. I said if it's 3.5, I'll take the over all day. 4.5, I'd probably take the under because I feel like 4 is probably about the number.
Will Howard comes out and slings it around all year. He could be a top pick next year.
Well, that was one of the points that I made in this conversation is that based on what happened in this year's draft on Thursday night with the absolute bonkers decisions and taking 6 quarterbacks in the first 12 picks, like, is that going to be an aberration or does that become the norm? Because if that's the normal thing, and Will Howard, the expectation is that he will be the starting quarterback.
But don't be the 7th pick at quarterback. That's the moral.
There was a pretty big,
That's a big.
pretty wide
lull in
margin
between.
between Bo Nix and Spencer Rattler.
Yes.
But if Will Howard is not one of the top 6 quarterbacks in the country next year and he's Ohio State starter, that seems like that'd be a pretty surprising outcome. So I'm in my mind, I'm lumping him into that category. Yeah. People are already talking in their mock drafts that are way too early about Donovan Jackson being an option in there early. At guards, you don't generally see that. But you look at Ohio State's offensive line, they could have multiple candidates that are early round picks. Now, it may well be a situation that's similar to Michigan, where it's like you're going to have a draft class of 15. They all can't get in the first round because, again, that's exceptionally difficult to do. There are only 32 spots, and teams are drafting for need, not necessarily going through the best 32 players in the country.
Well, that's the other thing that do people take into consider? Like, if we look at all the years that the draft happens, if a ton of quarterbacks were drafted this year, that means that many less quarterbacks are going to be needed in the draft next year, right?
In theory,
you know, like because people are going to have them on their roster now.
Yeah,
so.
But there's other guys that people don't like.
We just had a team who just spent $180 million on a quarterback, and they drafted another one 8 picks into the draft.
The Bears took Justin a couple years ago, and then you flip around and take Caleb. The Arizona Cardinals literally took 2 quarterbacks in back-to-back drafts, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't they draft Rosen and then Kyler Murray the next season?
They quickly moved on.
Yeah, Rosen was out of there really quick. Right?
So it's not exclusive to saying just because you usually not drafting a guy in back-to-back drafts. The Patriots drafted Mac Jones 3 years ago, and he's gone.
She gone.
Like, so that's I would think that there would probably be maybe more like 3 or 4 next year in the first round, but you never know.
You got to think out of those 6 teams, there's
half of them.
20.
Yeah,
you know,
you're right.
There's
only 48% of quarterbacks taken in the first round re-sign with their current team. Maybe 47%.
I believe that, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I think that shows also being able to work together as a team. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Being a leader, you look back.
Too much portaling.
One of the most notable drafts was Baker Mayfield. Was the 2018 draft, I believe, 17, where you had Baker Mayfield go first. You had Sam Darnold go there. You had Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, who we just talked about, and Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson won an MVP, playing well. Obviously, Josh Allen playing really well for the Bills. Josh Rosen, he's not in the league right now. Darnold's bounced to a couple teams. And Baker's kind of the one exception of that, where he won a playoff game in Cleveland, bounced a little bit, and then won a playoff game in Tampa and got a pretty big deal. So I would say that he's more on the successful side, even though he doesn't fit that metric. But that's one of the best classes that you've had. And that's still like 3 of the 5, with one of them literally being out of the league in like 4 years.
And then the MVP out of that group
is Josh Allen, Lamar was the last guy. You could argue the 2 best guys were Allen was the 3rd taken, and then Lamar was 32nd, who just barely slid in there.
Yeah. So, JC, are you over 4 or?
I want to say yes, but
it could very easily be 5 or 6.
I know Nicole will go out there on
if
that
we
level.
go out
I will
smoke everybody and we're national championship and everything just goes as great as we think it could be, then I would take
I think to me it's going to hinge on how good the defense is, because they love D linemen. It's a D-line. You have to look at draftable first-round positions. D-line, you got 2 ends that could go. I think Tyler, depending on all these guys, some combination, 0 to 3.
And cornerbacks too, right? I mean,
and corners is another position. You have guys that are viable options there. IGB, Denzel Burke, both of those guys.
Yes.
Jordan Hancock. You could have 1 to maybe 2, 3 of those guys in the first would be a lot. So you have some combination there. And then the other big piece, Josh Simmons, if he plays well, I think he has all the ability. And then it's going to come down to Mech. I mean, there was more receivers drafted, I think, in this, so many picks. I mean, they're flooding the market. But there's tackles, receivers, corners. And so those are the positions you have to look at on offense and D-line on defense as well. So if Mech has a really good year, he could be one of those guys.
Well, if him and Will Howard have a good year, I mean, that could be 2 guys off the board right there.
If a Mech is a first rounder, I think there's over 5. Yeah. I think there's 5 or more.
See, I feel pretty confident that Emeka will be a first round draft pick, especially with the way teams are drafted. The wide receiver thing, demand is not going to change. If the quarterback fluctuates, I can understand that. Again, because so many
because you play 3 receivers at a time now, and the hit rate on receivers is, I think, even worse than the hit rate on quarterbacks.
Yeah. Well, I think
just got to
Marvin's
go out
going
and
to
stay
work.
healthy this
I'm not saying that Marvin won't work.
I know.
But I think Neighbors will work. I think they've got some great opportunities. It's just the hit rate is so low.
Would you like to know about some new opportunities, Bob?
Yes,
What?
you guys, it's finally
Wait,
here.
hold up.
It is
it's
finally
time.
here.
Let's go.
It's time.
Wait, is there dust
new
on these from
sauces.
when they were
Parmesan.
printed?
These
from
are
the
in
cruise.
all the corporate locations, Columbus and Dayton, and
Wow.
so the new mango habanero and the Parmesan garlic sauces
They're
are
here.
here. We have some new sandwiches, a new pizza.
Nashville
But
chicken pizza.
I know.
Is this like
I
that?
tried
Is
it
this
yet.
like
That's gotta
that?
be awesome.
The jalapeno barbecue
Nashville
that we
chicken
had, or
sandwich.
whatever. What was the jalapeno blueberry or blackberry?
Blackberry.
That
no.
was. That Nicole's like, try. I'm like, this is really. Actually,
then
this
it
is really
burned.
spicy.
Yeah.
And then they had to
the
tone
second
it down.
batch, yeah,
the
second batch,
The second test didn't go as well as the
they
first
think
test.
the habanero that we had used in the original one, the habanero sauce, that it must have just gotten hotter. Same brand,
Well,
same thing.
It's based
everything.
upon the peppers. I mean, it's not like you're making it. You're making it from a
I was over here
living
crying.
organism.
I
Yeah,
couldn't
I mean,
wait
yeah,
to
those
eat it. And
peppers-
then
Well,
I'm
sometimes
crying.
Firm said that
catch
that's
a-
called sweating from your eyes.
catch a
It
heater.
was. And I had to go back to the kitchen. I was like, guys, is this the same sauce? I'm very confused. So, but we got it figured out, and it was, but no, the mango habanero is brand new, and it's
This fried
really
Nashville
good.
chicken
Oh, well,
sandwich,
there's chicken sandwich.
There's been an
chicken
expansion of the
pizza.
Nashville
Ooh.
chicken, which is a wonderful option.
gluten-free
Great.
cauliflower crust. That
Yes.
sounds great.
That
This
is
is gonna
going to
be-
be a great addition for a lot of people.
So
Nashville
good
chicken
things.
pizza, and as
Barbecue
always,
chicken, bacon, and cheddar.
on Tuesdays we have the featured appetizer, which is $3.
Tuesday.
An appetizer
Ooh.
Tuesday, fried pickles,
Those,
which are good. I'm gonna have one right now.
I can't wait.
They're really
for some of
tasty.
that.
You don't want to miss those.
No, they're good.
They're
Good.
$3.
So it's exciting. They're finally here, guys.
This
So
is
people
great.
need to come in and try them. I haven't even tried everything on the menu yet. So
Well, I gotta try.
I know the Big Bob burger that has the feathers on it and the feather sauce, it's like almost like a dumpster burger.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a new
What the-
one.
the
It's
Mott's
taking
and Tots
the
combo.
original Big Bob's to another level,
another
an
level.
all-American
Exactly.
level.
All American level.
Wow.
Correct.
Love that.
So exciting.
Anything else that we need to know about, Nicole?
No, that's it. It's just crazy that it's already almost May. I know.
It's gonna be May.
I know.
Justin Timberlake told us that.
Yeah.
It's coming. All right. Well, congratulations to your Texans and
Thank
to Kate
you.
Silver and
Thanks,
CJ
guys.
Stroud.
I
getting
know.
another
Congrats to all the guys. I'm so happy for all of them. It's
Yeah.
really exciting.
weapon. Buckeye leaves all around for them. You don't need to single them out, but Kate gets
Give 'em
probably
out.
the biggest one out of that group for the Texans.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna
Probably.
take a quick break. We're gonna let Nicole go about the rest of her day. Berm will be here shortly as we continue this fun, casual conversation at Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They will always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Welcome back into Roosters in the Horseshoe Lounge. Berm is here. Berm, what's your favorite Ohio State draft story from the guys that you've covered in recruiting all the way through the process?
Oh man, favorite story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of all time.
If you were going to make a Disney movie, Berm, it starts out with you in a parking lot with a
Waiting on a guy after practice.
And then-
15-year-old
and then
seventh
fast forward
grade.
to his NFL draft moment
Yes.
later.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It's a real Bieber situation.
I don't know. I mean, you really stumped me there. I wasn't
I know.
No,
anticipating
you weren't
that.
ready for that
I
one.
just-
I like it.
I feel like you get too comfortable. You've known me so long,
Yeah.
you know what I'm going to ask you, but I don't.
It's
want
really
that
a
to
great
happen today.
question. I mean,
Yeah, there's just been so many guys that have come through the program that you grow an attachment to them as people. I love CJ Stroud's story. I mean, I think that for him to be in September of his senior year of high school, somebody that nobody knew anything about, to going to be the Elite 11 winner and a player that was down to Ohio State and Georgia and basically picked Ohio State the morning of signing day, for him to come in COVID, not get a chance to really do the things that you'd want to do as a freshman, have to fight for his job in his first year as a sophomore, and having to sit a game 4 weeks into his year because there was a concern about maybe he wasn't buying in enough, and also
I forgot about
I
that.
thought it was
Also
a
the
shoulder.
shoulder
I thought it was
injury.
a shoulder that
that shoulder injury
miraculously
was made
healed.
up. That shoulder injury was made up.
That's what I thought.
I like Berm's taking
It was
some.
never confirmed.
Berm's
but thank
taking
you for
some-
confirming it.
Look,
It
we're
was,
taking some.
it was absolutely confirmed. He already had the shoulder injury in training
We're
camp.
taking
Let's
some
not.
creative liberties here.
This is the Disney
the Disney
version.
movie.
There we
Okay,
go.
like it is not a coincidence that Ryan Day kept saying throughout that preseason, CJ has to decide if he wants this.
A bruise on the shoulder is a long way from the heart, CJ.
So, and then
leave him alone.
Obviously,
a little creative license. It's fine.
The fact is, his career is going to always be looked back on in a weird way because he didn't beat Michigan, because he didn't win anything of importance at Ohio State. But everyone who watched him and got to know him up close was like madly in love with him as a person and as a quarterback. And then the way that he was attacked in the draft process for just no reason at all, and how quickly he has completely turned the
whole
narrative around, that these people who thought he was some sort of dullard and like he's one of the sharpest people you've
sort of dunce,
like
ignoramus.
Like I don't know why, like how that was allowed to happen. It's probably the Texans who did it.
A nonchalant moron is what
Like,
you're just.
And he's been so exactly opposite of that. So
Rookie of the year.
He's definitely up there. Just that story is pretty awesome.
When his story is finally written, finished, and Byrne puts his stamp on it, the JB, will he be the best quarterback in Ohio State history?
I think
NFL career wise.
Yeah, without question.
Yeah, that's not a very long list.
It's not,
I'm just saying. I mean,
Isn't he almost already there?
He's only played 1 year.
It wasn't a long or distinguished list that he's going against right
he's
there.
almost
So he's
there
probably already
already.
done enough to be the best.
Hasn't he won more games than Justin already? Isn't that?
I think it's close.
mean-
It's not fair that the draft process, like Kate Stover was the Big Ten tight end of the year, and he was the 5th Big Ten tight end drafted for just no reason at all. Like there was no, the Bengals, who spent a lot of time with Cade in the pre-draft process, chose Eric All over him, and I can't fathom it.
you're not
Wait,
happy
Eric
with
All
that?
is an Iowa tight end.
Yeah, like
So we did see.
well,
I knew
former
Michigan
Michigan.
/ Iowa.
Well, fair.
I thought he's better than All.
He's certainly been
You're Bengals.
on the field
what are Bengals
more than
doing?
All.
I mean, I thought they finally figured it out
Yeah,
with
and then-
drafting a Buckeyes, and then the Browns are like, "Hey, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
We should draft some guys
We're going to
too."
go do that.
Denzel Ward,
Yeah.
pretty good player. Dwan Jones, good player. Ronnie Hickman, they
They
signed him.
Signed him.
They got him.
Signed him.
Yeah.
He's
UDFA
starting
deal.
games for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It was very surprising that he went. But I talked to Cade briefly on Saturday.
Do you think it's because he's a farmer? Is there farm discrimination going on?
I think it's the Bengals think that he's not athletic enough, maybe, which is silly talk.
It's
but
weird when you watch him run. It doesn't
look graceful.
It's not super fluid.
It's just a big dude.
But he ran a 4.65, and I watched him avoid guys. Like he played running back in high school.
Here's the thing: Eric All may run smoother, but if you don't play, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I got to be on the field.
It
Like,
does
gotta
help.
be on the
That's
field.
that's an important piece of the puzzle. So there's a lot you could go back. You could go back. Jerome Baker is a guy I love, like his story, like because I knew he was going to be a better NFL player than he was a college player because he just does. He wasn't used
He moves
correctly.
well.
Jonathan Cooper, the path he took is awesome, and
About,
to be like
Baron-
7th round pick.
Baron Browning.
I was just gonna say, everyone's mind immediately goes to NFL guys more successful at the NFL level than at Ohio State. Well, Baron Browning is the start of that.
Yeah, but Coop was a 7th round pick, and
Coop played all the time. He was the block coach. The interesting thing about Coop is, I had a coach tell me one time that when they were recruiting guys, the baseline level of athleticism they looked for was Jonathan Cooper. They're like, if he's not more athletic than Coop, we can't recruit him. And I'm like, this dude had like 7 sacks as a rookie in the NFL.
and he was a
And he was a
5-star
recruit.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
And I'm like, what? It was amazing. It was very perplexing to me. I'm like, he may not be just the most freakazoid, he's not like Arvell Reese, but I'm like, the guy does everything that you want as hard as he possibly can. He's from a good family, a smart dude. I'm like, so what if there's other guys that are a little bit better around the fringes? This guy actually wants to be great.
See, that's what
He's
kind
not
of pisses
scared
me
to be
off about
great.
the NFL draft process is that there's so many teams that completely forget
about that side.
that side of
There's so
the athlete.
you
And
do
because
high
there's so
school,
many.
you do college recruiting.
I
It's
know,
the same
but
thing.
there's so much evidence to support that the guys who want it more generally succeed on a higher level than the guys that don't. And when you have almost comparable athletic talent, and you have one guy who is an absolute, I will kill myself for this team guy, and another guy who
with some broken wrists,
right, like they're
a little penguin.
and then you have the alternative, which is I don't really care about my teammates. I don't really care about playing as long as I get
JBDers.
as long as I get the perk of being a football player. Like the guys that the Cade Stovers of the world, the Tommy Eichenbergs, those guys will win you games. Like they will make a difference. Now, they're also potentially going to bang themselves up quite a bit along the way, but they will keep fighting to get back on the field. And you think about like, I'm not going to throw shade at anyone. I'm not trying to, but like think about a guy like Jihad Carter.
With all due respect.
Think about I said with all due respect. Think about a guy like Jihad Carter.
No offense.
At Ohio State. When Jihad Carter was brought in out of the transfer portal from Syracuse, the expectations for him were like through the roof. Like this guy is going to be a full-time starter. He's going to be a difference maker in our defense. And what you found was a guy that didn't care to play football, right? Like, and so good luck elsewhere. I mean, hopefully
he's back in the portal, right?
Yeah, hopefully he rediscovers what it was that he wanted to do. But like,
I think he enjoys the playing of football, like most guys do. But football is a game that
takes
else
that
immense
goes into it.
amount of preparation.
Yeah.
Like the JBD, the Just Ball Dogs, out there. Like that doesn't get it done. It may get it done at Syracuse, but Ohio State, when you have other guys around you that have comparable ability, who are going to really work and strain to know what to do. Part of the reason you get hurt is you're not physically prepared to go, which if our guy Schlegel Valley was here right now would tell us you're not taking care of your body, you're not training hard, and so you get quad bruises that linger for months.
Your pee's probably orange,
bad guy, terrible
bad
guy. You're not drinking like us on here 48 glasses of water with elite hydration to make sure that we're fully cognizant and ready to go. So yes, all those things. And that's the thing with when you go portal shopping, I mean, you see film, you talk to a guy, it's like, this seems good, but does it really?
Yeah, we'll get him into our system, and it'll change.
For every IGB and Caleb Downs, I mean, Ohio State's really hit in the portal pretty well. Will Howard, good dude.
There is a benefit to being selective.
Yes, like just scout. Oh, this guy's great film, made a lot of tackles, caught a lot of balls. Bad dude. Why is he in the portal? Like you got to also figure that out.
Well, and they're not perfect. I mean, Jihad Carter, it didn't work out.
He'll go somewhere else and have success.
Yeah, he could. And Vic Cutler, like that's part of the issue. I think when you look at
Vic Cutler
using the portal, is it cannot be the foundation for building your team.
No.
And the portal is about to close on Tuesday.
Tuesday at midnight. I would say, Berm, how's that seven over under looking for you right now?
Shaky. 7.5 is what.
Still calling guys. Berm's still calling him.
Trying to get him to leave.
Lure him in. Hey, I got to pay off.
I don't think Berm. Hey, Berm
was talking to somebody downstairs.
I'm not sure why this became a thing. I didn't want there to be that many. I was just prognosticating that, hey, this is possible. If you look at the draft, like Michigan, heading into middle part of the 4th, 5th, 6th, whatever rounds they were doing on Saturday, there was like Michigan had like 11 guys drafted, and Florida State had 11 guys drafted, right? But Michigan, like 9 of them were guys they recruited out of high school, and Florida State, 9 of them were transfers. Yeah. So like you can quickly.
Which one of those two teams had more success?
Well, I'm saying you can quickly fix a program if you then are able to supplement it with building, capitalizing off that success and then becoming back to what you were as a high school developer, which is what Florida State has now done.
In all fairness to Mike Norvell, he's only been there 3 years.
He came from Memphis. He had
he came in, he tried to fill
some
some holes,
over a
and it
hot
worked
pile
out
of turds.
So, and it's not like, obviously Jim Harbaugh was very active in the portal over the last couple of years to build their roster to where it was, so that these other players that all got drafted could develop and not be forced into playing early and not being pushed out of the program because they weren't playing, etc. So, like, I think that there's a way to do both, but Ohio State's approach clearly has paid off. But your point is well taken. Like, you can find guys in the portal that you just that aren't actually helping your team. And there's been this clamoring over the last few weeks. Why isn't Ohio State doing more in the portal? Why don't they find an offensive lineman in the portal? Like, because there's not one that's better than what they have. Like,
it's not one that's A, better, and B, like, as we were just talking with Nicole earlier when they talk about drafting guys, and they used to tell us this on visits. Is this a guy you want in your locker room?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the players own the locker. Is this a guy we want on our team?
It's part of the reason why they send him out with you at night. Like, hey, how do you get along with everybody? You know,
did he drink enough beers? Did he tell you he had a cold and that's the reason why he couldn't drink? Make up some excuses, and then he was tired the next day. Like, no, or did he go gung ho? Be like, listen,
he's out till 4 a.m. and he answered the bell in the morning.
Is he competitive? Yeah. Hey, do this shot. No, let's do it. Boom. You know what? Bring me another. Get some more over here.
Competitive.
Fill it up
drink
again.
Until I got to meet with Tress in the morning. Don't worry about it. Let's
go. Did I have to stop with my defensive coordinator to throw up on the side of Olentangy before I went and met with our head coach?
Might be a true story.
minus the might.
It's pretty specific. I didn't think that Bob just made that up off the top of the
And then
dome.
that guy went on to be an All-American player here. Put in a guy you love to have in your locker room.
That's right.
He knows how to fit in. He doesn't back down from a challenge.
But like, all part of it is too, like, these guys care a lot. Like Caleb Downs, he came in. Lathan Ransom, those guys, they love him. Why? Because we're sit and watch film together. I don't have to I'm not your dad. I'm not your babysitter. Like, hey, come on, let's go watch film. I want to sit and play freaking whatever those
Call of Duty,
COD, and what's the other one my kids play with?
Fortnite.
Get Fortnite with my V-Bucks and buy some sweet new skins and hang out. No, I want to sit here and watch film. Figure out how to get better.
The problem with the portal is that there's not two of them, right? So there should be two portal entries. One is for players who want an easier path, and the other is for players who want to get better at football. And
Which do you want? I just want to
You have
chill.
to just put the designation on it.
Yeah.
Can you just give me some money? I just want to come in. and do
there's
nothing,
like
please.
guys who enter the portal can put the no contact tag, right? There should be one like don't really give a shit tag, and the actually want to get good tag. So Caleb Downs, who didn't want to leave Alabama, obviously Nick Saban retired and things change. Davis Igbenogsen's like, I can get better, so I'm going to do that. And then
When his coordinator left, like there was
there's things that occur that open the door, but then there's
Sick
the
of
other
going to
there's
school
the
in the
other
middle
path,
of nowhere.
the other path of guys who are just like, I can't hack it, and so I'm moving on, which is also fine. Like sometimes there's maybe an epidemic of people in America who don't recognize that you are not going to reach this level you've set for yourself.
It's a lack of self-awareness.
Yeah, like,
we've really gotten to an incredible level.
So
of
it's
that.
good. Like you take yourself out of the situation where you're going to fail or where you're not being fulfilled to the best of your ability. But
human fulfillment.
Yeah, that's an important piece of life.
That's why
they talked about in Risky Business.
But unfortunately, they don't tell you that when the guys get into the portal. So
I think there's a third portal door because you're only looking into the Ohio State situation. I think
that's all I care about.
There's the 1 hole, the 2 hole, and the 3 hole, which is where sometimes you get guys coming out of where, hey, I'm just JBD at the school I'm at. I'm making a lot of plays. I think I can go do this at a bigger place.
Someone's going to pay me.
Someone's going to pay me. And I didn't realize that there was an elevation and commitment at that place because, man, these guys all make a lot of money.
Competition.
Things are all good. Yeah, you know why? Because everybody there is striving to be good, and the fans want you to be there's a big degree of investment. And with that investment comes expectations on the other side of it.
That's why I found myself, and I don't mean this to come across as a criticism. I was just confused by Dallin Hayden's move to Colorado specifically. Because it doesn't fit any of the 3 things necessarily that what we're talking about. I guess I don't know what his NIL, what the package is from Colorado.
Better be good if you're going to play behind it
because
there's
there's
no offensive line.
No offensive line, really, and a team that doesn't seem to have like Florida State.
A plan.
Florida State has had a plan, and they've seen that through. They were continuing to recruit high school guys and build a program that way. Colorado's not doing that. They're not recruiting at all.
No.
So I can't figure out.
Well, they got like 11 commitments over the weekend.
Okay.
Like 8 of them are from portal guys. So like they're just building their team at the end of the
spring. That's
spring.
what they've said they will do,
and that's not great. But
not great. Building a team on a seasonal basis is not a winning formula.
I can assume Deion Sanders is an excellent salesperson, right? So like,
what would make you think that, Berm?
Those Affleck commercials. I have bought so much supplemental insurance. It is crazy
pretty
how
amazing.
much supplemental insurance I have.
covered.
Jay-Z was sitting right here.
I know, the whole time.
That you have a job that you could borderline be physically incapacitated and still do, yet you've bought so much supplemental insurance.
I have so much supplemental
You'd be
insurance.
Stephen Hawking over here just laying there.
I mean,
you still get nothing. You're denied.
The guy is missing toes, okay? And he's still, like, kicking ass. So.
Is he?
Yeah.
How?
No, it's more of a hoof
Does
now.
he get stuck?
Not so much of a
what ass is he kicking? That's what I don't understand.
First 3 games.
What division?
Last year?
What league are they in now?
Big 12.
Oh,
They've got a much more. Their schedule is much
they're gonna
easier. If they don't win 7 or 8 games this year, that's
not.
Well, guess what?
I mean,
they won't.
But they're gonna have an opportunity next year where they're gonna be able to say we have the number 1 pick in the draft. It's from Colorado, right? So
I think he's that good.
Assuming he doesn't get broken half.
You're talking about Travis Hunter?
Oh, you're gonna have 2 of the top 3 picks in the draft.
The early mock drafts are putting Shedeur up there.
You're gonna have 2 of the top 3 picks in the draft will be from Colorado probably. And now that's what you need to be able to sell high school kids. So, we developed these kids. They were with me all along. So we'll see.
But Deion
one is my son,
Deion
and the other one
there.
is basically my son. So
Deion will be leaving.
No, he said he's not.
No, he
you
said
heard him.
he's
He's
in.
not a follower.
He's not going to follow those kids. He's going to let them live their lives.
Coaches don't lie.
Oh yeah. It's just that everyone else in the coaching profession is already under the impression that Deion had no interest in staying at Colorado long term and was merely trying to get his 2 sons to the NFL level.
I feel bad for his other kid that's on the roster.
I know.
Just like it's totally
He's
forgot.
helping get the DMs on the defense.
Yeah, exactly. He's the defensive guy.
He's defensive recruiter.
You guys were talking about draft next year, Ohio State players. Like,
Mm.
I'm curious. You brought up the Will Howard thing. Like, I think that there will be Shedeur, Carson Beck, and Quinn Ewers in the first round
I would
as
say it's
quarterbacks.
true.
So the guys
I
beyond
can't
that,
believe that they would say Shadeur's better than Quinn Ewers
Ewers,
because
that's what I'm-
he's looked,
athletically, he's just a different level of human.
that's fine. I don't need an athlete. I need a
Well,
quarterback.
again, we go back to what the NFL is looking for. They're kind of dumb. They just look for the guy who is
You're
the
not
best
wrong
athlete.
in a way, yeah.
And obviously, you have those three. Here's the question that I was like, you're asking, who gets drafted first next year, Kyle McCord or Will Howard?
I would say outside of Syracuse going 10-2.
Yeah, like
And,
making
like,
a push for the playoff or
If
something
they
crazy.
somehow make a charge in the ACC,
And he has
I
a
would say
big
that's
year.
because of him.
Yeah.
He could be in that conversation. Outside of that, I think that you're probably going to see Will 2 through 4, and Kyle's ceiling's probably 3-ish, maybe 4-ish. So I would say Will.
I have this feeling they're going to be drafted back-to-back next year.
Back to back.
It seems like they could both
In
be
the
in
third
the,
round.
the
in
middle
the same,
round.
yeah, in the same level of quarterback.
And Emeka Ibuka is
Grouping.
probably the third receiver heading into the draft next year, behind Luther Burden and McMillan in Arizona. Like I don't think like those two are surefire first rounders to me, and I think Emeka is a first round pick, almost without question, as long as he's healthy.
Okay.
So Jack will be a first round pick if he plays like he played the last
Like
5
he
games.
finished the season.
He will be a first round pick. JT will be a first round pick.
Mhm.
Michael Hall was a second round pick and played like 11 snaps in his career at Ohio State. If you
With 13 sacks.
Tyleek has been a lot more productive.
Tyleek played really well. at the end
Tyleek
of the
Williams will
season.
be a first round pick. So I think there's
Yeah.
5.
But then Denzel.
And then
Burke.
Denzel. And I think Davis Digbonosin is going to be a first round pick. So I think you
You're
could
taking the
push
over.
6.
That's what I'm saying. The defense should be really
Yeah.
good.
Oh, it's-
And when you have a good D line, that benefits the secondary a lot because balls come flying out. It's balls all over the
yeah.
place.
And
Justin.
Jordan
Balls
Hancock
everywhere.
is
Gotta
like
get your
I
hands
think
on
Jordan
it and grab
Hancock
them.
is like pick 32. So I think you could see maybe 6 to
a
7.
new record.
I think you got to 7 there, didn't you?
Yeah, I think you could see like those guys are good. Like, and now none of them are like a dynamic going to be top 3, top 4 picks. I don't think.
You have a lot between 10 and
Yeah,
32.
you're going to have a lot of those guys in the middle part of that first round, and then you get the Donovan Jacksons and the Josh Simmons, and
I think, between like picks 10 and 60, you could have a lot of
Fryer
Ohio
out
State
next year?
guys.
Fryer will be out next
Fryer
year
will be
too.
out next year, right?
I mean, he's probably a fifth.
Yeah,
fifth
probably
round,
not a
whatever.
first day guy, but
He's a draftable kid.
Yeah, he's draftable.
and
I think if he plays well, depending on where he plays, I think
that's
at guard, he's probably a guy that you could probably take in the 3rd or 4th round if he has a good year.
4 years of experience at Ohio State, always healthy, versatile, can play all 5 spots. Like
Yep.
there's
a lot to
things
be
that
said for that.
Bob, are you of the mindset now that you think Josh Fryer is going back to guard? It felt like.
Oh, no, I just said that because of a team that looks at him as a guard.
Okay.
They can play. You played a lot of tackle, but we've watched
Yeah,
you
they
play
like
guard.
they like that he played a bunch
Yeah.
of different stuff, right?
We can draft you in the 3rd round here
Gotcha.
because you can be day
Plug and
one.
play both, yeah.
Worst case, it's not even playbook. It's just the physical ability. Like, there's not a lot of people that have the physical ability to play guard and tackle.
Well, and who have done it
And
already.
have
so
done
they
it
kinda
already. It's not a
know what
project.
it's like.
Yeah, it's not a projection. And I think he can go right and left side, which is not as easy as what people think as
and
well.
he's smart enough and athletic enough to learn how to play center if he had to do it as well
Yeah,
in a league
it's
that
just
carries
snapping.
7 or 8 center or 7 or 8 linemen.
Lineman.
So my bold prediction is that Davis Ignosin will be the first Ohio State defensive player.
Really?
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
He's freaky. He's
got
he
size.
he has that
He's
thing
tall.
that the NFL loves. That he's got that freaky.
He's got skinny
lengthy,
calves.
fast.
That's the only dude on the roster that I could definitively say I think Schlegel has bigger calves than.
That's really stepping all over my bold prediction that Jermaine Matthews was going to take Davis Ignosin's starting job.
Yeah, I think that's.
Oh, jeez.
I personally think
That was
Those are
bold.
kind of counter.
I
We're
think
on,
that's insane.
we're on different ends
Yeah,
of the
you're-
spectrum there.
I
Different
think
wavelengths
that's insane. Davis
Both
Ignosin-
of those guys, you know what they should have them do? They should have a Michael Jackson like beat it video where they fight, they tie their wrists together for the starting job. Each gets a knife. is one of them willing to saw their own hand off.
I do.
We still need depth there.
I agree in some way that I don't think those two will be on the field at the same time because the risk of unsportsmanlike penalties is just
so high.
way too high.
It'll be so high. It's like it would make having both of these guys have. I will say this: they both have a governor at the top. It might be
it's
like
broken.
It's broken, but it can still work most of the time. But
it's
it
like,
be
you've stuck that T into it in the golf.
Yeah,
cart.
it would be like having Cam Brown and like Damon Arnett like out there coaching each other. Those are the guys that are supposed to calm each other down.
Hey, you got to have some shakeability.
I love it. Both, like,
it's a key tenet of the last
Davis
show.
Igmanosin has elite athletic traits and elite shakeability.
Watch when he would get beat by JJ Smith. I thought he wanted to punch him on the ground. Like, and JJ threw the ball at him one. It was so great. I mean, it was a situation where I'm like, I've never seen a freshman want to fight like a corner wide out. That's not like an NBA fight. This would be a real fight, where these guys are actually going to try to hurt each other. Like, get the helmet off.
Get the helmets off. Throw the pads off. Like
it's not like a hand slap. It's like I'm trying to get your helmet off to punch you in the face.
I'm all for it.
All right. Good.
And I love it.
When
you have dudes like that, skill guys, like that's a tone setter.
Yeah, it is. You got to have it. This was a.
You know what else you have to have?
Fried pickles.
Fried pickles on Tuesdays at Roosters
one more.
for $3.
Is that what you were thinking?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Fried picks.
Have you tried any of the new test menu yet?
No, I mean we just got here today, and I didn't see that when I ordered my normal 5 boneless.
It's right in front of you.
Not over there, it wasn't.
I guess it's against the wall. You
it.
covered it with your bag.
Oh, okay. Big mistake. Anyway.
Big mistake. Maybe next week.
Yeah.
And that mango habanero does sound tasty.
Oh, it sounds remarkable.
Berm was crying when I got into
It's like the
Roosters.
brother to the sweet Thai chili, which is really good, as the red pepper flakes
It's
in
like
it.
the angrier brother.
Yeah, which is great. Sometimes you need the angry brother.
You got to have some shakeability in your sauce too, and you can get that at Roosters. Come hang out on Tuesday, Appetizer Thursday, fried pickles. They will be here and waiting for you in the Horseshoe Lounge. Thanks to Nicole Cox for having us in here. I hope you enjoyed this latest episode. We'll be back next Monday. That's Jay-Z, Bob Berm. I'm Austin. We'll see you then.